The open world genre has a very specific, taste to it. And it's a taste that can only be explained through a multi-million-dollar chart. You see, every game that's been created, well, ever, can be broken down into 3 categories: linear progression, open world progression, and grandma's secret handbag. Ooh, very secret. Ooh, what can be inside? Maybe some candies, or perhaps all of the Marina Del Rey aquarium. Ooh, very quirky, very poor. Well, George, I hate to kill your curiosity, but we're talking about this one today. Open world. Within the past couple years, we've run into an issue with my favorite genre of all time. Next to point-and-click adventure games, of course, that's League of Legends. It's kind of like, that's kind of like a point-and-click adventure. No. We must stay focused. The open world genre has gradually expanded beyond saving, much like a bowling ball with too much air. Take that as you will. I don't know. I don't even know what that means. And it's all because console hardware has evolved. So developers are holding measuring contests between each other, trying to create the biggest game that's ever been created. Why? Well, I don't have an answer, because I'm not a developer. But I am a consumer, and what I do know is games have gotten bigger, but they certainly haven't gotten better. The worlds generated now feel too vast, and most of them don't even have an incentive to explore them. And alongside with a lack of actual gameplay to support the exploration, it feels like the worlds are just enormous for no reason. It's like all the developers got together at Developer HQ and one guy said, "All right, I've got an idea." And everyone looks over at him and they're like, "Okay, what's Nintendo gonna say this time?" And he goes, "What if we make the games bigger so the people will play them longer? Because that's the only way we can tell if the game's good or not, is by how many hours the players have. Thanks a lot, IGN. All your reviews have gotten us here. All they can do is go, oh, IGN gave us a 7, but people are playing it for 10,000 hours? Somebody's in the wrong here. And guess what? It's this guy, this one right here. So now we're getting this huge catalog of futuristic art projects. And wow, look how beautiful that skyline is. Oh my. Too bad there's nothing to do. Cyberpunk 2077's world is enormous. And the fact that it sticks to the theme of what Los Angeles will be in the next 4 years, it's pretty impressive. Because most games don't even stick to a specific theme all the way through. I'm looking at you, Sonic. But beyond the beautiful skylines lies a game that doesn't fully know what it wants to be when it grows up. But today, we're not talking about that. We're talking about exploring this tedious world. Because every vehicle, no matter which one it is, feels like you're driving inside of a refrigerator with Hot Wheels glued to the bottom of it. And trying to navigate these tight roads, it's not an easy task. Trust me. I've done it in the game, and hypothetically, I played it out in my mind. It doesn't work. That's science. So getting around doesn't feel polished enough to have the incentive to explore. I mean, it feels like the development went towards designing the world and putting Keanu Reeves into every nook and cranny of the game. So for me, there's an overwhelming level of disappointment. That's right. That's our word of the day, disappointment. Not open world, isn't that crazy? After seeing this game being marketed as this enormous and expansive, impressive world, what we got was not great. And it didn't leave a great taste in my mouth. And it's not like the developers lacked the hardware to make the game perfect. Nintendo's been making great open world games since the first Zelda on the NES. And if you're looking for more of a Z-axis approach, take a look at Mario 64. And since we're already here, let's take a pivot point and talk about Breath of the Wild. Cast your stones at the end. But Breath of the Wild is another example of a modern art project. Because the world is so enormous for no good reason. Other than it does look pretty good. I remember a time before Breath of the Wild came out, I would always read about how the map was gonna be bigger than Skyrim. Skyrim had the perfect blueprint to an open world experience. And boy, oh boy, when I heard that, I had to grip my horses tight because I knew it was finally gonna happen. A game that could rival Wind Waker. In my mind, nothing could have beaten that game. So when it came out, my disappointment was immeasurable. And my day was certainly ruined. Because the world was just too big. But the reason I felt like it was too big was because the only way to get around is on a 7-letter word. And I'll give you a hint. It's an animal. Horses. Ever heard of her? That's 6. Nintendo had the wise idea of giving us the same mechanics for horses we've seen since Ocarina of Time. Holy sh**. They work for Ocarina of Time, but the world is so refined and small enough to travel on horseback without feeling exhausted. But Breath of the Wild took me in and called me Sally. Holy sh**, that world is too big to be riding on a horse with the same mechanics that we've seen for the past 30 years. Also, in Breath of the Wild, there are only 3 reasons to explore the map. Story, you gotta go around for story. Shrines, you gotta get shrines to get stronger in the game. And now if we can burn them, I'll travel to every inch of the map and not even complain. So Breath of the Wild obviously has issues with the map being too big and the incentive to explore just isn't there, unless you're crazy. But what I will say is the game did a great job of setting a standard in the industry, and every issue just explained is fixed in Tears of the Kingdom with the big hand mechanic. Tears of the Kingdom is double the size of Breath of the Wild, and if we're going off what I said already, that sounds like the worst thing to have ever happened. But no, it's not. Why? Because you can build cars, you have creativity to solve puzzles, you can do anything you want. You're not limited to just riding horses and climbing things forever. No, you can put 2 fans together, have 4 AA batteries, and you can be flying off on your own. Do whatever you want. If that's not enough for you, there's more enemies and mini-bosses littered across the map that help you figure out more ways to explore. Like, are you gonna go fight this big bag of beans, or are you gonna find another way around? I'm gonna find another way around. That guy. So the world size isn't the issue. It's how you get around it. The journey is the most important part of any open world game. If you're a developer who can make the trek from point A to point B exciting and fun, guess what? You made yourself a damn good game. And I shouldn't complain too much about the horses because the horse girls are gonna get mad. Shout out to the ladies watching, but let's face it, it could be worse. All right, how far are we? Shit. Yeah, so I fell asleep when the game started, but I got my magic juice to help me with this part of the video. Death Stranding, aka Walking Simulator, is the full embrace of games becoming movies. Except most of the movie is the montage part, just without the cuts. And the cool music too. Just imagine the Rocky training montage, but there's no music and he's running for 20 hours. That's the game! I just don't understand the fascination with developers making these games so enormous for no reason, forcing us to put thousands of hours into the game. It's almost like they're saying, hey, look at all the work we put into this game. Please play it as long as you can because I have a family to feed and there's a gun to my head. So maybe the maps are getting bigger and better to increase playtime. And if that's the case, well, No Man's Sky definitely dropped the ball when the world is as wide as an ocean, but as deep as a puddle. I read that on a Steam review, who probably read it from a Reddit post, and then that guy probably read it in a book. Shoot the messenger. No, shoot. If you're not familiar, No Man's Sky revolves around one mechanic: procedurally generated worlds. And space, I guess, you know, it's like the same thing. So every planet, animal, plant you interact with, it's supposed to be unique and new. And with the first 15 planets you explore, you're like, oh yeah, this is sick. And then 5 planets later, you're like, is this not the same fucking ice planet I was just on? Procedurally generated worlds for an endless game is an amazing concept for open world. But in action, so instead of exploring planets and living in space, you know, living out your dreams that you had when you were a kid, everything just becomes tedious because all these, they're lifeless planets. It's not fun to go to. But if you want to talk about a fun planet to go to, just go back to Earth, and then we'll talk about GTA 5. You know, it's impressive that GTA 5 is a game that's still alive 11 years later. It's kind of amazing. Rockstar really knows how to put their cheese touch into any game that they've made. But here's where GTA 5 excels, and Red Dead 2 doesn't do too hot. A little thing called cars. Ever heard of her? GTA 5 has an enormous catalog of vehicles that creates endless amounts of gameplay because it fulfills every young man's desire to go 100 on a regular road with no repercussions. And although it's kind of intimidating, GTA 5's enormous world, it can be explored quickly and effectively because of cars, bikes, planes, more cars. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, Red Dead 2 has horses. Horse Girl Simulator 2 is one of the slowest games on planet Earth. You're given this enormous world to explore with plenty of incentive. Rockstar puts their heart and soul into you doing quests and stuff, and the world looks great. Like, look, this guy, he's eating his food. What a small, minute detail. But this world becomes exhausting to explore because you're on horseback. It's slow, it's uneventful. So it's a shame that 80% of this game is you with assless chaps on the back of a horse, and the other 20% is a very valuable and interesting story with really cool characters. Again, it's that 80% that makes you just fall asleep with the sticks, and you're like, I can't play anymore, I'm so tired. And then you get to the mission, and you're like, whoa, we're drinking? All right, what have we learned? Riding horses isn't fun. It might be in real life, I don't know. I'm about the same size as the shoebox, so I shouldn't be near a horse, let alone on one. But most games created in the past 10 years have this weird obsession with being enormous and lack incentive of exploring the world. The open world genre has just been disintegrated into this pile of ash of what was once a groundbreaking experience.